Encore Revival, America, May 15, 2017. Of course Snowden objects to his persecutor being fired. James Comey was likely dismissed for incompetence, not only in failing to prosecute crooked Hillary after publicly building the case against her at election time, not only because of his see-no-evil attitude toward all Islamic factions, which arguably allowed the shooting in San Bernardino, nor for ignoring Apple's instructions on how to not lock the San Bernardino terrorist's iPhone, not only for talking about software security on national TV as if he doesn't know how to use a mouse, not only for dragging the FBI's feet while investigating the Orlando nightclub shooter for 10 months while he killed another 102 people, and not only for working for the previous president under whose Iraqexit ISIS became a household name. Trump is also growing tired of leaks to the media, something he won't tolerate. Counterintelligence and leak finding are games of trial and permutation, much like Clue, games which Comey is not exempted from. If leaks to the media decrease since his firing, there will be no doubt about Trump's motives. But then there is his career effectiveness. Was Comey a kind of fifth horseman working as a media spy in the FBI? Comey, in all of his investigations in Russia, still failed to retrieve Snowden. Yet, were it not for Comey and his valiant yet failing efforts, not as many people would read Snowden's tweets. Personally sympathetic or otherwise, Snowden can't not oppose Comey's firing, but it's unclear what Russia thinks about Snowden's support for the man investigating them. Remember, Snowden became famous as a 29-year-old tech geek for having information that dropped from the bumblings of baby boomers who ran the NSA, but apparently learned to use a mouse late in life. Snowden did not become famous for his political commentary. On the other end of the peanut gallery, Julian Espionage Assange can't not comment on who is more effective at finding the truth about a government. Perhaps Comey might have not locked the San Bernardino bomber's iPhone if he had hired Assange or Snowden. Now, Espionage Assange offers unemployed Comey a job while wanted Snowden comes to unemployed Comey's defense. It's almost worthy of a comedy story. Other opinionated youngbloods have their conflicting opinions, mostly Bernie Sanders supporters who didn't foresee that he had no political chance. They favored Obama having his way with any and every department. They weren't paying attention during their childhoods in the Bush years. They weren't alive to see the Clinton years. But now, all of a sudden, they are conscientious about abuse of power. This hippie's change of heart is yet another example of how Trump is good for the country. But the hippies still don't get the picture. Heads of departments in the federal government work at the pleasure of the president. It is customary to dismiss old department heads when new presidents take office. Comey lasted longer than he had any right to expect. The same would be true if a Democrat had just taken the White House and an FBI director who had served under a Republican were being fired. Well, except for the Bush dynasty, who wouldn't oppose a burglar holding a knife to their own family. The kids complaining about Comey didn't discover politics until they saw a viral video of street musicians singing about Sanders. Then they acted like the vicious cycles of history are happening for the first time, even though history isn't cycling for the first time, not even in their lifetimes. This time, when a new president fired an old department head, they happened to be finally paying attention. Once today's hippies finish growing their chest hair, and the now junior high schoolers take up the hippie torch when Trump leaves office, the same concerns will recapitulate like a recurring theme in a bad movie score. The real question is about the gray heads running the news industry. This isn't the first time a new president fired an old department head. This isn't the first time political classroom goof-offs acted like normal was a surprise. Nothing new or newsworthy happened this week. Headlines should have read, New president fires old FBI chief. Proof the world still spins. The news industry failed to report what really happened this week. History simply repeated. That's why news is a dying industry. But why feed the hippies? Why is the news industry quickening its own death on the altar of demagoguery? The best explanation so far is that the news industry is like the Pied Piper, hoping to rally an unwitting populist army of children into a war that they would know they would lose if they were 20 years older. But the best-kept secret about Bernie Sanders, Clinton, Obama, the dying news establishment, and the rest of the political left is that their goal isn't to win. Their goal is to lose while making as big of a mess as possible. Once the kids figure that out, it will all backfire, and the left won't even have one leg to stand on. Encore. Revival is returning to America.